By the time Michael Jordan reached his prime, the NBA wasn't asking how do we stop him anymore. That question was already dead. What teams really wanted to know was something far darker. How do we survive him? Because this wasn't just dominance, it wasn't highlights, it wasn't championships. This was the season when opponents walked onto the court already defeated, when coaches changed entire game plans before tip-off, not to win, but to limit damage. Players knew the look, that cold stare. No emotion, no trash talk, no mercy. The moment Jordan flipped the switch, the game was over, and everyone in the building knew it. Tonight, we're not talking about stats, we're not talking about rings. We're talking about the season when Michael Jordan broke the league's belief system and turned basketball into psychological warfare. This is prime Michael Jordan. The season the NBA stopped believing. Before we go any further, if you love deep documentary-style breakdowns of NBA legends, not just highlights but the psychology behind dominance, this channel is built exactly for you. We're breaking down prime seasons one legend at a time. So hit subscribe. You don't want to miss what's coming next. All right, let's continue. The league realized too late. At some point, the NBA stopped asking if Michael Jordan was the best player alive. The real question became far more unsettling. How long could this last before it broke everyone else? Because by the time Jordan entered what we now call his true prime, the league had already tried everything. Double teams, hard fouls, trash talk, rule changes, entire defensive schemes built only for him. None of it worked. And the scariest part? Jordan wasn't improvising anymore. He wasn't reacting, he was executing. This was the moment the NBA unknowingly crossed a line from competing against a player to surviving a force. The shift nobody noticed. Early in his career, Michael Jordan played with chaos, explosive, unpredictable, emotion-driven. But prime Jordan? Prime Jordan was calm. Too calm. Opposing players later said the same thing. He stopped talking during games. No trash talk. No emotional reactions, no visible frustration, just eye contact. Long pauses, and then destruction. Because prime Jordan didn't need momentum. He created inevitability. The game within the game. By this stage, Jordan wasn't just studying defenders, he was studying people. He learned who panicked when switched onto him, who fouled out mentally before the fourth quarter, who needed early points to stay confident, who needed crowd energy to survive. And once he identified the weakness, he attacked it slowly. Jordan would intentionally start games passive, miss a few shots, let defenders relax. Not because he was cold, but because he wanted them comfortable. That comfort was the trap. The first cracks teams noticed something disturbing. Jordan no longer chased scoring titles night to night. He chose moments. If a defender talked early, Jordan waited. If a coach overhelped, Jordan remembered. If a team celebrated a run, Jordan watched silently. Then, in the third quarter, the pace shifted. Not explosively, not emotionally, methodically. Possession by possession, the scoreboard changed, and nobody could explain how. Before this goes further, if you appreciate deep NBA breakdowns that go beyond highlights and focus on psychology, dominance, and legacy, subscribe now. This Prime series is building towards something much bigger, and this is only the beginning. Now back to it. The night the league felt it. There was a moment players remember vividly. Not a dunk, not a buzzer beater. A silence, a packed arena, and no noise. Because Jordan had entered that mode. the one where he stopped looking at the rim and started looking through people. Defenders later said they felt like obstacles, not opponents. Every move had purpose. Every dribble had intent. Every pause felt threatening. This wasn't basketball anymore. This was pressure. The myth becomes reality. By now, coaches weren't just adjusting game plans, they were adjusting expectations. If we hold him under 30, we've done our job. If he doesn't take over early, maybe we survive. If we keep it close by halftime. That's when Jordan struck. Because prime Jordan didn't chase dominance. He waited for belief and then erased it. And that's when the league finally realized the truth. They weren't facing a superstar anymore. They were facing someone who had mastered the psychology of winning. And once Jordan flipped that switch completely, there was no turning it off. When the league finally understood what it was facing. By the middle of Michael Jordan's prime, the NBA wasn't just reacting to him anymore. It was anticipating defeat. That's a subtle difference, but it changes everything. Because when players step onto the floor already bracing for what's coming, the battle is lost before the opening tip. And Jordan knew it. He could feel it in warm-ups, in eye contact, in the way defenders talked less, in the way coaches burned timeouts earlier than usual. The league hadn't surrendered publicly, but mentally, it was already bending. Jordan no longer needed to announce himself with an early flurry of points. He no longer needed to dominate the first quarter. In fact, sometimes he deliberately didn't. He would let games breathe, let opponents feel comfortable, let defenses relax just enough to believe tonight might be different. And that belief, that fragile hope, became the weapon he used against them. Because prime Jordan didn't crush hope immediately. He nurtured it first. There's a reason so many of his most devastating performances followed the same strange rhythm. Quiet. First half. Controlled aggression, effortless efficiency. Opponents would glance at the scoreboard and think, okay, he's human tonight. That thought alone was enough to doom them, because Jordan was never chasing numbers. He was gathering information. Every possession in the first half was data. Who overhelped? Who hesitated on switches? Who panicked when the clock dipped under 5? Who tried to guard him with pride instead of discipline? By halftime, Jordan already knew exactly where the game would break. And more importantly, who would break with it. This is the part of prime Jordan most fans miss. The violence wasn't always physical, it was psychological erosion. He would test a defender early, not to score, but to feel their resistance. If they reached, he remembered it. If they backed up, he remembered it. If they talked, he remembered it. Nothing was forgotten. And by the third quarter, the receipts came due. You could see the moment it started. A simple jab step, a hesitation dribble, a defender leaning half an inch too far. And suddenly the floodgates opened. Not with chaos, with precision. Jordan's third quarters weren't explosive. They were surgical. He didn't force shots. He didn't rush possessions. He removed options. A mid-range jumper that felt inevitable. A backdoor cut. The defense stopped calling out. A steal that sucked the air out of the building. One possession at a time, the game narrowed. And by the time opponents realized what was happening, they were already trapped. This is where prime Jordan separated himself from every other superstar. Most great players overwhelm you. Jordan contained you. He dictated tempo. He controlled momentum. He decided when runs started and when they died. And once he had that control, the game felt suffocating. Coaches tried to intervene. They called timeouts earlier than usual. They adjusted coverages mid-quarter. They begged their teams to stay disciplined. But discipline only works when belief exists. And Jordan was systematically removing belief. You could see it in playoff series, games that stayed close, not because teams were winning, but because they were surviving. Celebrations shifted. A contested jumper became a moral victory. Holding Jordan under 30 felt like success. Losing by single digits was treated like progress. That's when the league crossed an invisible line. Jordan wasn't just the best player anymore. He was the standard everyone measured survival against. Opponents no longer asked, "How do we beat him?" They asked, "How long can we last?" And Jordan felt that shift instantly, because when fear replaces competition, dominance becomes permanent. The cruelest part? Jordan enjoyed this phase the most, because he didn't need to scream. He didn't need to flex. He didn't need to dominate every possession. He could let the game come to him, and it always did. Late third quarter, early fourth. That's when the final stage began. The crowd leaning forward, teammates spacing wider, defenders glancing at the clock. Everyone knew. The run was coming, not because Jordan forced it, but because the moment demanded it. He would start with something small. A steal at half court, a turnaround jumper over perfect defense, a cut that shouldn't have been possible. And suddenly the energy shifted. Opponents rushed shots, rotations broke down. Communication vanished. Jordan didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. The panic was loud enough. This wasn't basketball anymore, it was inevitability. Because prime Jordan didn't beat teams with athleticism alone. He beat them with certainty. The certainty that no matter what you tried, no matter how hard you played, no matter how perfect your game plan was, the ending had already been written. If you're watching this and feel the tension building, subscribe now. This Prime series isn't about highlights. It's about understanding how greatness actually works. Because what comes next is the moment Michael Jordan stopped being a superstar and became something far more dangerous. Because there was one final step, one moment, one stretch of time. When Michael Jordan didn't just dominate the NBA, he made resistance meaningless. And once that happened, the league never recovered. When the NBA realized there was no escape. By the time Michael Jordan reached the deepest part of his prime, something strange had happened to the NBA. The league stopped talking about stopping him, not publicly, not on camera, not in press conferences, but inside locker rooms, in film sessions, and during pre-game huddles. The language changed. Coaches no longer said, "Here's how we shut him down." They said, "Here's how we survived the first wave." That alone tells you everything. Because this version of Jordan didn't just dominate games, he ended strategies. Defensive schemes that worked against every other star collapsed against him. Double teams came too late. Triple teams left someone open. Physical defense woke him up. Soft defense embarrassed you. There was no right answer, and worse, Jordan knew it. Late in games, he stopped playing fast. He slowed everything down. Every dribble felt deliberate. Every look felt calculated. Every pause felt threatening. The clock didn't pressure him. It protected him. Opponents could feel it. The longer the game stayed close, the more uncomfortable it became, not for Jordan, but for everyone else. Because prime Jordan wanted pressure. Pressure meant control. Then came the moments that defined the era, not the highlights you've seen 1,000 times, but the seconds before them. Jordan catching the ball at the wing with 8 seconds left, not rushing, not calling for a screen, just standing there, staring. Defenders didn't blink, because blinking meant death. That pause, that wasn't hesitation, that was dominance. Jordan letting the entire building understand one thing: this possession belongs to me. And when he finally moved, it was never dramatic. One crossover, one step, one pull-up. Nothing flashy, nothing forced, just inevitable. The ball went in. It always did. And the reaction was always the same. Hands on hips, heads down, benches silent. Not anger, not shock, acceptance. That's when the NBA truly lost. Because once acceptance replaces resistance, competition ends. Michael Jordan didn't just win championships in his prime, he reshaped psychology. Players grew up watching him and entered the league already believing the myth. Coaches built careers trying to solve him and failed. Franchises changed rosters because of him. Rules adjusted because of him. The league evolved because of him. And Jordan? He never asked for credit. He never asked for sympathy. He never asked for forgiveness. He demanded respect and took everything else. By the end of his prime, Jordan wasn't just the best player on the floor. He was the standard. If you won a championship, it was measured against him. If you scored big, it was compared to him. If you dominated, it still wasn't enough. Because prime Jordan didn't just raise the bar, he moved it somewhere unreachable. That's why his opponents don't sound bitter today. They sound honest. They talk about fear. They talk about helplessness. They talk about inevitability. They talk about a man who made basketball feel unfair. And that's the final truth. Michael Jordan didn't dominate the NBA because he was more athletic, or more skilled, or more talented. He dominated because he broke belief. Once belief breaks, everything follows. So when people ask, how good was prime Michael Jordan actually? The answer isn't found in stats, or rings, or trophies. It's found in this simple reality. The greatest players in the world spent their careers hoping they wouldn't have to face him at his best. And when they did, they lost. If you stayed till the end, you already understand something most fans never will. Subscribe now. This Prime series isn't about nostalgia. It's about how dominance is built. And what comes next is the chapter where Michael Jordan stopped being human and became untouchable.